Hello, I'm Antonio Mora with a look at a country that's always in the news, but rarely in a good way. I'll start with a simple fact. Over the past half century, you are much more likely to win the lottery or get struck by lightning twice than to have seen North Korea live up to its promises. Here's another way to look at the post-World War II history of the Hermit Kingdom. Let's say you hire a contractor to repair your home. He demands that you pay him first. You do, and he doesn't do the work. Worried that your home is going to fall down, you go back to the contractor. He again makes you pay first and again does nothing. Would you keep going back to that contractor? That is exactly what the international community has done with North Korea. As we see the most recent leader from the Kim family hobnobbing with Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Donald Trump, it bears remembering two cliches. History repeats itself, and it's insanity to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. The Kim family has threatened the world for generations, repeatedly using nuclear technology as blackmail. And every time the international community gives in, we somehow think it will change the Kim family's behavior. North Korean duplicity has burned one U.S. president after another. During the Clinton administration, Jimmy Carter helped his fellow Democrat negotiate what was called the Agreed Framework with Kim Il-sung's government in 1994, trying to keep North Korea in compliance with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The U.S. didn't live up to all of its commitments, but the North Koreans did the opposite of their proposed denuclearization. George W. Bush tried saber-rattling at first, deeming the North to be part of what he called the axis of evil. Kim Jong-il, who had succeeded his father, quickly responded by pulling out of the Non-Proliferation Treaty altogether. That led to six-party talks that included Russia, China, Japan, and South Korea. They were so not successful that the North Koreans tested their first atomic bomb in 2006. The talks were discontinued in 2009 after the rogue regime continued testing not only its nuclear weapons, but its missiles. 10 years later, Vladimir Putin has now called for the talks to resume. Xi Jinping has also suggested they restart. Good luck. Barack Obama tried what he called strategic patience, tightening sanctions and trying to avoid the vicious circle of rewarding North Korea for its bad behavior and getting nothing back. Critics, though, called it strategic passivity. How did it work out? The third generation's Kim Jong-un, who is now in power, tested his country's first claimed hydrogen bomb. Kim III also followed his family's playbook, raised tensions to crisis levels, de-escalate, extract concessions, ramp up demands, and then resume provocations. Donald Trump played right into it. Tensions rose, Trump entered into a war of words with Kim, ridiculing him as the little rocket man and threatening him with fire and fury. Meanwhile, North Korea continued to miniaturize warheads so they could fit on ballistic missiles and threatened to annihilate Guam. Then, Kim de-escalated the bluster and started a diplomatic charm offensive that led to a summit with Trump in Singapore. Trump claimed the two leaders had fallen in love, foolishly believing the North Korean leader when he promised the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Trump went as far as saying North Korea no longer posed a nuclear threat and gave Kim some concessions, including the cancellation of military exercises with South Korea. A second summit in Hanoi brought Trump back to earth when it became clear Kim wanted to play the same game his father and grandfather did, increasing his demands, insisting the U.S. lift sanctions before he would denuclearize. When the summit failed, the North Koreans, by all accounts, went right back to developing their nukes and missiles and restarted their provocations, including the claim that they had test-fired a new tactical guided weapon. Suddenly, we started paying attention to the fact that Kim has talked out of both sides of his mouth, saying he'll denuclearize while vowing his nuclear sword will never be relinquished. His regime is also demanding that the Trump administration realists, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and National Security Advisor John Bolton, be removed from further talks. That's not going to happen. So, are we back to square one? Maybe. Kim is undoubtedly dictating the process and has gained legitimacy by meeting with the U.S. president with virtually no cost. But what is Trump to do? He should abandon his lovey-dovey talk, but he has to engage with Kim because North Korea is a nuclear power and because he can also threaten the West with cyber warfare. However, Trump will need the Chinese to help. China has to tighten the noose of sanctions to contain Kim and force him to negotiate seriously. If he feels China and Russia will help him skirt sanctions, he will have no incentive to denuclearize. Unfortunately, the only hope for change in North Korea is from the top down. It is likely the world's worst police state. Describing the state of human rights in the Hermit Kingdom, a UN report said the gravity, scale, and nature of these violations reveal a state that does not have any parallel in the contemporary world. North Korea's 25 million people are indoctrinated, and independent thought is bred out of children. Reading the Bible can get you killed. Even top leaders can be executed for slouching at a meeting. And anyone accused of a crime, especially a so-called political crime, can be arrested and sentenced to a concentration camp without a trial. In many cases, generations of a family are punished and sent to a gulag where prisoners are starved, tortured, and raped. There will be no rebellion in a country that has the world's fourth largest army. Finally, North Korea provides an important lesson to new generations who do not remember the Cold War, the failures of socialism, and the horrors inflicted by communist regimes. After World War II, the northern part of the Korean peninsula was occupied by the Soviets, the south by the U.S. Today, North Korea is an economic basket case where millions have starved to death and where deprivation is a way of life. Its economy is significantly smaller than Iceland's, even though only 350,000 people live on that island. On the other hand, South Korea has one of the world's top dozen GDPs, with an economy that is almost the size of Canada's and larger than Russia's, even though its neighbor has 3 times more people and a territory that is about 170 times larger. To end with another cliche, with North Korea, you can hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.